Hi everyone. Today in 6th grade math, we are going to focus on applications of geometry, looking at the area of special quadrilaterals and rectangles. Our standard for this week also includes triangles, which we will cover later on, but today we're just going to work on our quadrilaterals. So students will define area and use it to understand and calculate the area of a quadrilateral. The most common quadrilateral that we know is a square or a rectangle. So the area is the measurement of a two-dimensional surface. So if I was looking at my wall or a table, the flat surface can be measured in 2 dimensions. We're going to start with rectangles because rectangles are unique in that the opposite sides are equal. So I have a 10 on my horizontal side. That's the same measurement as the side up top. And then, of course, I have a 6 on my vertical side, which is the same measurement as this side. So the area is the surface the rectangle takes up, or the number of square units contained in the rectangle. So one of the ways that we can find the area is by counting the number of units inside the rectangle. So of course, I can go ahead and count all of those units individually and come up with an area for this particular rectangle of 60. And that is certainly a feasible method to use. What's interesting, though, is that 60 is the same as 10 times 6. So if I look at the horizontal row inside my rectangle, I realize that it is 10 units long, and that row gets repeated 6 times to give me an area of 60. That's also the case if I start with a vertical column. The distance of that column is 6, and as I repeat it across my rectangle 10 times, I again get an area of 60. So we can find the area by counting individual units. However, it also looks like we have a formula that we can use, which is going to be the length of the rectangle times the width of the rectangle is equal to the area. The second thing we're going to talk about is perimeter. Perimeter is the measurement around the distance of a shape. So a rectangle is unique, again, because the opposite sides are equal. If a side length is measured in units, this example is labeled in inches. So the perimeter around my rectangle is the number of units surrounding it. So I'm looking at all 4 sides and counting up how many spaces each side length takes so that I have the distance around my entire shape. And it looks like that's going to be 32 inches. Now remember what I said about the opposite sides of the rectangle being the same length. So I know that one side is 10 inches and its opposite is 10 inches. That gives me a total of 20 inches. And then my vertical side is 6 inches, as well as the opposite side, which will give me a total of 12 inches. So 20 plus 12 gives me 32, which is the number I got when I just counted all the way around my rectangle as well. So a formula for perimeter is 2 times the length of the rectangle. So I took this length and I accounted for the bottom and the top, plus 2 times the width of the rectangle. So instead of spending time counting all the way around that shape, you can use the formula, which is perimeter equals 2 times length plus 2 times width. A couple of real-world problems for you. Let's talk about going to the zoo. If the giraffe habitat at the zoo is 12 yards in length and 8 yards in width, what is the area? Perimeter. If the zebra habitat at the zoo is 6 yards in length and 8 yards in width, what is the perimeter? And elephants. The elephant habitat must have an area of 24 meters squared. What are 2 different options of lengths and widths to make the habitat? So hopefully today you learned a little bit more about area and perimeter of rectangles. And let's make sure that we remember our formulas for class this week. Area is equal to length times width of a rectangle. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width.